Hello and welcome. We are excited to share a selection of 10 best of the best older informational books for children, published in 2020. I'm Lori Frumkin from the Harold Washington Library Center.
I'm Sarah Holtkamp from the Sulzer Regional Library.
Hi, I'm Evelyn from Harold Washington Library Center.
The books we're about to share explore history and current events and inspire us to play a role in our future. The books represent an emphasis on equality, diversity, and inclusion, and we are so excited to share them with you today.
Our first book is This Is Your Brain on Stereotype, How Science is Tackling Unconscious Bias, written by Tanya Lloyd Key, illustrations by Drew Shannon. Readers will learn how to recognize stereotypes, why they can be harmful, and how to combat them. From the intro, our brain consciously sorts and labels the world around them. It begins when we're babies. Those four-legged barking things, they're dogs. The bouncing things are balls. Toys are different from food, and food is different from milk. We need these categories. Without them, we open our closets each morning and wonder which items of clothing go on our legs and which go on our arms. But our brains don't only sort things, they sort people. And that's where life gets complicated. Stereotypes are hard to recognize and even harder to erase. People simply don't know how to fix these problems. That's where science comes in. The author uses historical events brought on by stereotypes people have held or still hold. Asks the reader questions, provides simple exercises, using kid-friendly, relatable examples, including ones in Chicago. The last chapter focuses on how to rewire our brains against stereotypes, includes further reading lists and bibliography. Next up is a brand new exciting series, The Histories Master, written by Kate Messner, illustrated by Dylan McCona. This well-researched series will smash everything you thought you knew about history, with nothing but the truth. The first two books in the series are The Mayflower and The Women's Right to Vote. Messner will often say, you probably learned this, but here's an example of that. Stop me if you've heard this one. In 1620, when the Mayflower landed at Plymouth, the Wampanoag welcomed the Pilgrims with corn, right? Wrong. No Wampanoag people were even there when the Mayflower arrived. The truth is, the Pilgrims found and stole corn that the Wampanoag people had stored. These books will give you the lowdown on the who, where, when, what really happened. Messner even revealed how these half or non-truths even got started. Readers will appreciate the many illustrations and historical photos, as well as the further reading list, websites, and exhibit information. The next two books in the series will be Pearl Harbor and the Titanic, coming out this year. Finish the Fight. The brave and revolutionary women who fought for the right to vote. Written by Veronica Chambers and the staff of the New York Times. Illustrated by a diverse group of 12 women. What I love about this book is it focuses on the not as well-known women involved in the fight for the right to vote, often called suffrage, which was essentially shorthand for the fight for women's right to own property, get an equal education, run for office, and much more. Many of the women highlighted are of color or from the LGBTQ community. Readers will appreciate the many illustrations and historical photos, the timeline from 1807 to 1972, when ERA, the Equal Rights Amendment, was passed. Further reading led bibliography and an in-depth. Nuestra America, 30 inspiring Latinos who have shaped the United States. Written by Sabrina Fioriola, illustrated by Gloria Felix. This anthology covers the trials, tribulations, and successes of the 30 individuals in almost 20 different fields. 23 of these stories have additional resources in the online learning lab by the Smithsonian National Museum of American History. And this is divided in these subjects: civil rights and activism, entrepreneur, fashion and popular culture, literacy and literature, sports, and public service. This book also has a glossary of terms and discussion questions. And now I'm going to turn it over to Sarah.
The first book I'm discussing today is Woke, A Young Poet's Call to Justice. Mahogany L. Brown, Elizabeth Acevedo, and Olivia Gatwood have given us beautiful, thought-provoking poems on important topics such as body positivity, equality, gender, intersectionality, and justice. This timely book is a call to action for young readers, and it helps them consider how they can use their own voices to advocate for justice. This book is beautifully illustrated by Theodore Taylor III. The illustrations are bold and engaging. The foreword is by the award-winning author Jason Reynolds, and he encourages readers to be woke and not to be asleep. This slim but rich book is a great primer for kids, and really people of all ages, to begin thinking about and unpacking big issues such as race, privilege, and equality. For me, Gatwood's What's in My Toolbox was a particularly resonant piece. It helped me consider different privileges that are awarded to people in our society and the privileges that I have. The next book I'm sharing is Antiracist by Tiffany Jewell. This is the book on being anti-racist. It contains so much. Not only does it dismantle common misconceptions, it also spotlights those who are change makers in our society and is truly a guidebook for becoming anti-racist. It's organized into 4 sections: identity, history, taking action, and working in solidarity. Each section has multiple chapters that build on each other. Jewell tackles topics such as institutionalized racism, microaggressions, privilege, and allyship in clear and concise language. Unfamiliar words are underlined and defined in the glossary. However, the text is extremely accessible and never talks down to the reader. Each chapter ends with an activity prompting the reader to examine what they have learned and expand upon in their own lives. Jewell recommends that rather than write in the book, readers find a special notebook to take down their thoughts. The book begins with an explanation about word choice, including the term folks, which is spelled F-O-L-X, because this is a gender-neutral term, and the term global majority, noting that marginalized communities of color are actually the majority in the world. The illustrations provided by Aurelia Durand are bold and bright and help to heighten the message of this book. While it's targeted to children, it's really useful in learning how to make a difference and become actively anti-racist. I cannot think of a more timely and essential title from this past year. Finally, the last book I'm discussing is This Is Your Time by Ruby Bridges. At age 6, Ruby Bridges was the first Black child to attend an all-white elementary school in New Orleans. This book is filled with moving historical photographs as Ruby looks back on her life at that time. She was escorted to school by federal marshals, which has led to some truly iconic photographs, including this one from 1960. The book is written as a letter to children, and it tells the story of her harrowing time and how she was taught in a classroom by a teacher alone and how the world responded. She said that she was moved to write this book as a response to the events of 2020. She moves from telling her own story to talking about the children she has met and have worked for change in their own lives. She shares striking photographs from the civil rights movement and today, and one cannot help but be struck by how similar the images and how little has changed in the fight for racial equality. The top photo here is of a water cannon aimed at young people during a protest in Birmingham, Alabama in 1963, and the bottom is of officers shooting pepper spray during a demonstration after the death of George Floyd in 2020. By the end of this slim book, Ruby Bridges has challenged everyone to join in the fight for civil rights and social justice. This book brings together history, the present, and the future.
Sometimes the best way to make improvements for the future is to learn from the past. Chance, Escape from the Holocaust, Memories of a Refugee Childhood, is a captivating memoir that describes the extreme persecution that a young boy and his parents endured after fleeing Poland during the Holocaust. The book starts off with a happy 4-year-old boy who loves to draw. The boy is Uri Shulevitz, who would later go on to be an acclaimed children's book author and illustrator. Uri and his family's connection to art played a role in their experiences as Jewish refugees. Art also plays a huge role in this book, which includes drawings on many pages. The illustrations serve to express the emotions tied to Uri's experiences. These images include imaginative drawings that helped a young boy make sense of what was happening around him, such as this image. Here, as Uri is trying to leave his home in Warsaw after it was bombed, he imagines that falling in the deep hole left by the bomb would be like falling into the mouth of a giant hippo. Other illustrations help bring his experiences to life for the reader, such as this image of his family trying to travel without legal papers. They spent weeks jumping from train to train and sleeping on station floors, trying to move in the right direction. The narrative follows the family in a horrific journey that lasted more than 8 years through parts of the Soviet Union, Turkestan, and France. They endured hunger, homelessness, violence, cultural persecution, and illness. Though the stories that Uri shares are difficult, themes of love and strength are present throughout the book. Uri uses his connection to art to distract himself from hunger pains, connect with children from other cultures, and process his trauma. As he uses his skill with art and language to share his family's poignant memoir that is both unimaginable and relatable. Uri's resilience and accomplishments are important to share with children, especially now. This is an important title to share with children as they learn about the Holocaust, the experience of being a refugee, and the results of religious and cultural persecution. Similar to Chance, the next title I will share explores history and culture using a powerful #OwnVoices lens. Powwow, a celebration through song and dance, provides an informative look at Indigenous music, dance, culture, and history. Author Karen Pheasant Naganagwan is a lifelong competitive powwow dancer. She shares her own story as she provides details on the history and importance of powwow culture. By sharing her own experience and family stories within a historical framework, the reader gets a close look into the role of powwows in Indigenous history and how they have changed over time. Pheasant Naganagwan clearly explains how colonization and years of discriminatory policy affects the religious and cultural practices of Indigenous people. The author worked hard to bring her knowledge and experience to life with photos, historical images, recipes, quotes, and more. The chapters are engaging, colorful, and extremely interesting. Though the author identifies as an Anishinaabe woman and lives in Canada, she includes historical and current information from all of North America. With a detailed table of contents, glossary, index, and further resources section, the book is a great addition to a public or school library. Thus far, the informational titles we have been sharing encourage young readers to learn about others, take inspiration from the resilience of people who have experienced injustice, and to question the status quo. We've heard about notable people who have stood up for change and celebrated their unique voice. Now we will hear about a book that ties us all together, a concept that is universal: poop. That's right, I said poop. Scat, poo, number 2, whatever you want to call it, poop is always there and can actually help us learn about the world around us. In Who Gives a Poop by Heather L. Montgomery, we follow a biologist on her quest to understand animals and their behavior by studying clues in poop. She invites the reader to come join her romp through giggly guts and terrific turds. There is no lack of potty humor and gross adventures in this book, but there is also science, lots of it. Read about how dung can help scientists figure out why elephants are reproducing less, or how fecal transplants can help cure illness. Each chapter describes a new scientist studying poop and explains the importance of the discovery. There is also back matter that is full of information. My favorite part is the extensive annotated bibliography for each chapter, which focuses on videos, activities, articles, and other high-interest resources that allow you to explore more. Kids who love a gross read will get a lot of excitement about the excrement in this book. And while they are laughing and getting grossed out, they will also think about important questions about ecology, chemistry, and the impact of humans on the earth. And though the call to action in this book is quite different from the social justice themes we've heard about all earlier, there is still a powerful message of using knowledge to improve the world and make informed changes for the better. Well, that's it for us. Thank you so much for watching our Best of the Best book talks. For the complete list of older informational titles, please visit the Chicago Public Library website at chipublib.org/kidsbestofthebest. Thank you and see you next time.